Ashe.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here with us today on this lovely Saturday. I hope it's a lovely Saturday wherever you are. Um, my name is James Weeks. For those who don't know who I am, I'm the author of the book Meditations Across the Kings River, African Inspired Wisdom for Life's Journey. Um, I help people with strategies for emotional, financial, and spiritual wellness. For more information about me, just visit my website, acrossthekingsriver.com. Today, we're honored to have a very special guest with us, Dr. Rene Oluwatoke. He's retired uh, doctor of chiropractic, chiro- a retired doctor, chiropractor. He's also an IFA priest and diviner consultant. And he's been in the U.S. military for 20 years, retired U.S. Army. Dr. Rene, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us today.
It's my honor to be here today.
All right. Well, thank
Thank-
you so much for your time. So, across the years, in just working with people, a lot of people tend to have questions around purpose, their life purpose. How do they recognize their life purpose? And you've been on the path for healing for so many years. I remember once you told me about an incident that happened when you were 5 years old in Puerto Rico. That kind of gave you like a foreshadowing of your destiny of being in the medical profession. I was wondering if you could share that experience with us, with your mother, and the experience you had when you're 5 years old.
yes, it's actually when I was 12. Um, my mother was having a very severe headache. She suffered of migraine headaches, and that day she was having a very, very bad headache. And she was crying, and I was crying because I didn't know what to do. And I was the only one in the house with her. And all of a sudden, she says, Renee, come and put your hands on my head. And I said, well, what is that going to do? She actually said, I know that you have the gift of healing. So I know that when you put your hands on my head, that I am going to be healed. This headache is going to be gone. Um, I was still crying because when they're that young and your mother's crying and you don't know what to do, then you're crying. So I did what she asked. Um, at that time, we were practicing Christianity, of course, and so the only thing that I knew what to say was a Lord's Prayer, something or sort of something like that. And I put my hands on her head, and within a minute, the headache went away. And I asked my mother, "How did you know?" She says, "I've always known that you had that gift." And from then on, the Spirit led me, unbeknownst to me, Spirit led me into the career of a healthcare provider. In the military, I was a nurse, and I'm a retired doctor of chiropractic medicine now. I have been practicing in the healthcare profession for the last 41 years.
So let me ask you a question. So your mom told you that she always knew that you had that gift. She was aware you had that gift. Would you say that
Yes.
you was aware that you had that gift too, or would you say that when your mother told me it made you realize or think that, well, maybe you do have this gift? Did you have any other inclination that this was part of your many gifts?
Well, um, up to that point, I didn't know that I had the gift of healing. I mean, I was a musician at that point. I played in my dad's trio. I played bass guitar in my dad's trio, and I was in a gospel group. But I didn't know that I actually had the gift of healing until she told me that. And once that came out, once I acknowledged that that was a gift that I had, that I had gotten from my ancestors, that's when I actually started working on uh, uh, knowing what to do and talking to her a lot about it. She actually told me that we come from a long line of shamans, Taino shamans from Puerto Rico, and then I started to become very curious as to what a shaman was and things like that.
So could you tell us then how you started working on this gift? Because you said you started to work on it. What exactly did you start working on?
Well, when I went to the different churches, because we studied, and my dad liked to go to different churches, so I would go with him. And I don't know how he told the ministers that I had this gift, but I ended up putting my hands on a lot of people during those visits, and they were healed. Um, I was, like I said, I was a teenager. So as a teenager, I also started to rebel because I felt like I was being forced to do something that I wasn't sure that I could do. And it wasn't later on until adulthood that I actually became aware that I did have this gift um, when I entered the healthcare field. And so um, that's when I started to, I said I'm in the right field to help people. Healthcare, I'm in the right field to heal people, or at least help their bodies heal. And that's why I chose nursing first, and then chiropractic second.
So can I ask you this? So then what were some of the experiences you had or that people experience once you place your hands on them?
Um, okay, so in my 22 years as a chiropractor, I've had many patients come through me. And for those of you who don't know what chiropractic is a holistic medicine, natural medicine. We don't do surgery. We don't use medication. We don't use conventional medicines. We do homeopathics. We prescribe homeopathic medicine. We prescribe natural medicines. Um, so when that was a very eye opening. I had gone back to school, and professor of chiropractic, professor at school was a chiropractor. He invited me out to the college because I was getting ready to take the GMAT, which is the MCAT, which is the medical acceptance test. Um, I went. I decided to go to chiropractic college. Graduated from chiropractic college and immediately started working. I have a postgraduate study certification in pediatrics, and that's what I did when I was a child. I mean, when I was a nurse. Sorry, was to practice pediatric nursing. I felt that I could do good with the pediatric patients because pediatric patients don't always can always tell you what is wrong with them. I saw a lot of my patients get better once I was able to touch them. Um, I didn't I didn't start off wanting to be a healer as per se, but I realized that whenever I worked on a patient or whenever I touched a patient, they always got better. As a chiropractor, I have never had a patient come back to me and say, "Oh, I've gotten worse since you did this." Um, Give you an example. When my Baba Pega, came to bless my clinic, this was back in 2005. My godfather, Baba Obafemi, uh, he brought him to my clinic, and Baba Pega did his thing, and I felt the energy that he was okay. Uh, I offered him a reciprocal, so I offered him a chiropractic adjustment, and once I put my hands on him, I knew exactly what I had to do without even knowing him. It's an intuition or a sixth sense or something, whatever you want to call it, that comes through me. Um, I know some chiropractors that pray before they adjust. Um, but when I adjusted him, he immediately got better. He was kind of feeling kind of hurting and things like that. So he immediately got better after that. That's one incident, but every patient that I've ever had has gotten better. I had one patient that came in. She had carpal tunnel. We did some treatment on her wrist. She never came back. She said she was cured. Um, I mean, I lost some money there, because we're in the art of making money also, but we're in the art of healing. I think healing is what our society needs. Um, and that is my contribution as a healer. And I still, work as a healer also. I continue to work as a healer. Um, because, just,
Question. So then, so as you speak, well, two questions come to mind. So your
okay.
field, chiropractitioners. So why is it that most people would like don't know, like why has this art and craft been, I would say, like hidden from us? So like, okay, I've never been to like a someone who practices.
Chiropractor.
That's number
Okay.
one. And what would you say would be the main benefit for people to see uh, someone like who has the gifts that you have, who's into what would be the main benefits to us?
Okay. Well, I think that we're somewhat, if you want to call us a baby, of the three portals um, of medicine, because you have your MDs, you have your DOs, and you have DCs. So we are the portals of medicine. We tend to be the gatekeepers. Okay. Um, we have had a history with the MDs, a rivalry, uh, if you want to say that, um, where um, the medical profession, the medical doctors, have always tried to stop us from doing what we do. They've even gone to litigation and things like that. We won a major court case um, uh, a while back. It was a Wilkes court case, and we um, we won that, where the AMA had actually um, told their members that if they worked with a chiropractor, that they could not be members of the AMA. So they were trying to stop even the younger medical doctors from working with us. Um, that's one of the reasons why society has not, at least in the Western world, because in the Eastern world across the Atlantic, uh, they've had people, they call them bone setters or whatever. They didn't really call them chiropractors. Chiropractic came to birth. We um, D.D. Palmer is the individual that started chiropractic in 1895. And upon his death, his son B.J. Palmer took over and progressed the profession. So we're probably we're the youngest of the three. Um, not too young, but I mean, we're 120 some odd years right now. I think little by little, society has um, become aware of chiropractic, and more people are going to chiropractors simply because when you go to a chiropractor, you we are looking for the cause of what is making you ill, what is making you making you have pain. We're not looking for the symptoms, although we look at the symptoms, but we have to look at the cause, because if you don't fix the cause, if you don't heal the cause, then those symptoms will continue. The benefits of coming to a chiropractor are twofold. Um, Number one, we are going to find the cause, and we use conventional methods. We do diagnostic testing, we do blood work, uh, we do vital signs, we do physical examination, we do everything that a medical doctor or a doctor of osteopath will do. The only difference between us three is that we don't do surgery and we don't provide medication, except for maybe some homeopathics or some herbal or diet or something like that. We when we adjust a segment in the spine or a joint or something like that, we are allowing the nervous power or the nervous impulse, or that, if you want to say, that ashe that comes from the spinal cord, to go out and and be able to flow freely to go to that area that is the issue. We believe in healing the entire body holistically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. When we heal the physical, then the emotional and the mental get better. And when we do heal that, then the spiritual aspect gets better.
Wow. So you made a statement that, okay, like healing is your contribution to society. And you mentioned that, our society is in need of healing. From your perspective as a chiropractor, as a spiritual practitioner, where do you feel like our greatest need for healing is? And that's question number one. And I'll let you answer that question first, and then I'll
Okay.
go into my second part of the
All
question.
right. Where do I feel our greatest need for healing? Uh, wow. That question may have a lot of answers to it because you can't really pinpoint the greatest need because in some countries in the world um, we find that they have um, accepted um, the spiritual aspect of society. Okay, in some countries they don't even look at the spiritual side of society. I think that in order for us to heal, there has to be a balance or an equilibrium between those four aspects of humanity, which is spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. Our emotional self, the stress that our society goes through, the distractions that our society has, the invention of social media, although social media can be good like right now, but um, the addiction that Americans have with this social media thing, where their lives are put on display, okay, worldwide, that causes a lot of stress. And when you have a lot of stress, that stress can manifest into a physical problem. Okay. And whenever you're not aligned, then your spirituality suffers. So I believe that if we don't have our Ori and our heart in alignment, if that's not in alignment with our Ori and our Ipon Ri in heaven, then we allow um, um, we allow forces, negative forces, who are opportunistic to enter our lives. So I think that we need to get back to our spiritual side so that our physical side, emotional and mental side, can heal properly. I think chiropractor has a role in that by helping to release, like I said, release that ashe that's coming from the spinal cord out to the periphery, out to the body, because that ashe comes from our crown and goes straight down the spinal cord. So I think that once you've been adjusted by a chiropractor, okay, that power that your body has to heal itself, because God created the perfect machine, and we're able to hear ourselves from that.
So for people who are trying to get more in touch with their spiritual side, what tips would you suggest? Because you said that should be part of the cornerstone of our journey of healing. So what
Ashe.
tips do you give to people who are struggling spiritually or trying to develop that spiritual side of themselves? What advice would you give?
I would think the first thing that they need to get in tune with is themselves. Um, I, um, I wrote a piece not too long ago. Well, I wrote a piece a while back, about 10 years ago, and it said, if I may, um, the piece is entitled "When We Talk to Ourselves." So it goes like this, just at the beginning: when we talk to ourselves about ourselves, and we are by ourselves. That is the best conversation that we will ever have with ourselves. Okay, look in the mirror and ask yourself this question: do I like the person that I see? Do I want to be this person that I see in the mirror, or do I need to change? I think that is the first thing that we as a society, as individuals, need to do, is to look into ourselves and find out what it is. What is it that we are missing? What is it that we need um, to acknowledge in our lives so that we can fix it? we have to admit our own faults to ourselves before we can even need look at anybody else's faults. You know, the Dalai Lama has a statement about looking at other people's faults, and he says to you need to look into yourself um, first, first and foremost. If we don't love ourselves, we cannot love anybody else. If we don't like ourselves, we cannot love anybody else. If we can't heal ourselves, we can't heal anybody else. Okay, so I think that's the key. We have to get in tune with ourselves, with our Ori, okay, with your Re that God gave us, that goes with us everywhere in life. Okay, if we're not in touch with our Re, if we don't look at our Re for guidance to be with them when we go on our journey, then we're going to be lost the entire time that we're here on Earth.
Okay. And for those who don't know the Yoruba concept of the Ori, which is our head, how would you define that? Because you mentioned it several times, getting in touch with our Ori. How do you define that for people who are not so familiar with the Yoruba spiritual tradition?
Okay.
What does it mean to you?
Okay, no problem. Um, Ori is the most important uh, aspect of us of us individually. God, we call him Olodumare, gave us Ori. God gave us good Ori. Okay, um, a lot of I've read where there's a lot of people that say that you can come down with a bad Ori or good Ori. In my research and in my understanding, in my opinion, God does not give bad Oris. Okay, my at least my God doesn't give bad Oris. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
My Ori is good, and it will be good throughout. It's when we neglect that Ori. Okay, and our Ori, there's three aspects to our Ori. You have the head Ori, which is a physical manifestation of Ori Inu. Ori Inu is our inner self. Ori Inu is the mystery inside the mystery. Okay, and we spend our lifetime trying to understand ourselves. And then there's another aspect of Ori that is sitting in heaven with our ancestors, and that's called Ipanri. And you have to maintain alignment with your Ori. In other words, when I say alignment with your Ori and your heart, that means you have to maintain alignment with your intelligence or your intellect and your emotions. The emotions come from the heart, intellect comes from the head, from the Ori. Once you maintain that alignment and you keep that alignment, then you can keep alignment with Ori Inu and Ipanri in heaven, who sits and talks to your ancestors on a daily basis, or you know, and tells the ancestors what's going on, or the ancestors tell them what's going on with you. That's my understanding of Ori. I wrote a book in 2019. It's called Ori and the Osha warrior Orishas. In other words, there are four Osha Orishas. There are a lot of other warrior aspects of the Orishas, but these are the four Osha Orishas. And the book it says how our relationship with them and how to care for them. I'm a big advocate of Ori. I'm a big advocate of being in tune with self. If I'm in tune with self, then I can be in tune with you. We all come from the same light. We're all part of this universe. So if I'm in alignment, then I can help others possibly get in alignment through the power that emanates from me into the universe.
Wow. So question. So you've immersed yourself in, in serving others in the medical field.
Yes,
But you're also initiated into African spiritual traditions,
yes.
Yoruba spiritual traditions. I want to know, from your point of view as a well-rounded healer, what do you feel the African contribution is to our healing, like in our times? What would that be? What does that look like? What contributions?
Um, I okay. So let me think about that question. I think that in my life, I'm a Puerto Rican. Okay, I'm made up of three distinct races. I'm made up of African, Spaniard, and Taino, indigenous. Okay, um, I believe that my African my African self, my ancestors that are African, um, had a big part in bringing me, okay, bringing me to the light. And let me explain that. Um, I think that when the Africans came to Puerto Rico and they merged with or they converged with the Taino. The Tainos believed pretty much the same as the Yoruba believed, although they had never set foot on Africa and the Africans had never set foot on the islands at that point. So I believe that we are all part of one another and that my African ancestry, my African heritage was a big part in getting together with the Taino spirituality, the spiritual aspect of how they practice, and they merged and they formed one. Okay, um, yes, I do practice a Yoruba spiritual cultural tradition, but I'm still Puerto Rican. I am a Puerto Rican priest who happens to practice the Yoruba traditional um, cultural spirituality known as Ifa. Okay, and Ifa is worldwide. Ifa is the universe. We call it Ifa because that is a name that was given to it, but it can be go by many names. The thing about my African spirituality, number one is I acknowledge the fact that I actually have free will. Okay, I acknowledge the fact that uh, the consequences or the results of my decisions are mine only. I cannot blame anybody. In our society, we try to put the blame on this person or on that person or on that group or on that group for our faults, for our bad decisions or indecisiveness. Uh, and through Ifa, I've learned that Myri is in charge of me, and it's my decisions that will either give me a negative result or a positive result based on the options that I'm given. And I've in bringing up my children, I have four boys. I've always given them the option of what they should do. Well, I give them, you can do this, this is going to happen, or you can do this, and this is going to happen. I have a son, my third son, Carlo. Every time I ask him, hey, do you want some advice? He looks at me and says, no, Dad, because every time you say something, it's true. It comes true. And he's my godson also. So that's what I get from practicing the Yoruba spiritual tradition or culture as part of my daily life. I just don't practice on Wednesdays and Sundays, okay, or however or just on Sundays. This is something that I practice on a daily basis. Matter of fact, I am sitting on my mat as we speak right now.
Beautiful. So we have a question here from Alison Joseph in Trinidad. So she's asking the question, how do you get in tune with self? She said that she finds it hard at times. What advice do you give her?
The advice that I give to my godchildren is this: you need to find a quiet space. Turn the damn phone off. I'm sorry for saying that, but turn the phone off, turn the TV off. If you need a little bit of meditation music, go for it. Find us a quiet space where nobody will bother you and just sit. You don't have to meditate. You just need to sit. Try to empty your mind of all the distractions, of all of that junk that we've been going through on that particular day or whatever. Okay. The objective of that is you just want to be, period. You just want to be. You don't want to be who you are. You don't want to, like me, when I sit down to meditate, I don't want to be Chief Oluwatoke. I don't want to be Dr. Rene Oluwatoke. I don't want to be dad. I don't want to be brother. I don't want to be father, husband. I just want to be when I empty my mind. It's hard and it may take some time to do it. Try 4, 5, 10 minutes first, then go from 10 to 15, and then go from 15 to 30. Before you know it, you'll be sitting with yourself. When I say self, you'll be sitting with your Ori and your Inu, with your spirit pretty soon, and you'll be able to elevate yourself and get in tune with yourself and start loving yourself the way that we should be loving ourselves.
I like that idea, that concept of what you said about, when we meditate, when we go into quiet space, to not think of ourselves in terms of our identity. Oh, I'm a father. Oh, I do this for profession. Oh, whatever it is. I like that concept of just what you said, just trying to be without
Just trying to be
the,
right.
the titles that we give to ourselves or that others give to us. Um, what would you say to
Uh,
people who are still struggling to find their sense of purpose? It's something that a lot of people wrestle with. Sometimes they think they're on it. Sometimes they think they're off it. What guidance would you give for people who are trying to find their purpose so that they can have a more fulfilling life?
Um, I think that the first thing that needs to happen is you need to know what it is what is your destiny. If you don't know what your destiny is, then you will have no purpose. I believe that our purpose in life is to reach our destiny. Ifa shows us, or Ifa at least showed me what my destiny was. Okay. And that was confirmed by an astrologer that I used to have, who would tell me, you're going into this phase, you're going into that phase. And she confirmed when I went through my Ishefa and I was given, and I took the Ita, the old dude that I was given said, you are, your job or your destiny is to educate young people. Okay. Well, I didn't know that, a few years later, that I will be teaching high school and teaching at junior college. I didn't know that. Okay. But then I realized, oh, this is what Ifa was talking about. Before my astrologer passed away, transition, she told me that I was in my last phase of life, that I had entered into the phase of the elder. Um, I'm going to be 68 years old in October, and I have accepted that role of an elder. My job was to help young men, not women, but young men, get in tune with their feminine side. Okay, um, and that will balance us off without the young man thinking that they're losing their masculinity, because we live in a society that that the young men, they got to be macho and you got to be masculine. And but if we as men get in tune with our feminine side, it will balance us off and actually make us a better person. I'm one of few men that have a female primary guardian or primary Orisha. My primary Orisha is Yemaya, and I'm very close to Yemaya in everything that I do. I hope I answered the question.
Yes. So I would like to ask, well, two things. One is, okay, so because you talked about knowing destiny for people who may not be around diviners and maybe they're in other traditions, other path, how would they find their purpose? How would they come closer to their purpose?
Um, I think first of all, it's like what I said earlier, is you need to believe in self.
Mm.
Okay, because Ori, in my research and in my meditation and things like that, we've been revealed that Ori Inu, Ori Inu, our mystery within our mystery, is the entity of us, of ourselves, that actually picked our destiny. Okay, so Ori Inu knows our destiny. We just have to get in tune with Ori Inu, and you can do that through um, you can do that through a fa, or you can do that through any other type of spirituality or spiritual practice that allows you to do that. Okay, we have there are some religious organizations out there that tend to um, blind the individual with dogma. Okay, we have to be able to have free will. We have to be able to get in tune with ourselves without any difficulties, any disruptions, or anything, or anybody talking about us that we're doing something wrong, because there's no wrong and there's no right. So that's, I think we have to be able to do that. I think once the individual gets in there, even if they don't practice what I practice or anything else, I think they will be able to be enlightened. Okay, enlightened, um, and find what their destiny is, so that they'll know what their purpose is in life. That's I mean that's the main thing that human beings ask themselves: what is my purpose in life? I found my purpose through Ifa. Somebody else may find their purpose through something else, but that's where I found mine, and I'm glad that I finally found it. It took me a while to get there, but I got there.
That's beautiful. I found from my own experience, my own opinion is that when it comes to the question of purpose, I find that I feel people often overcomplicate it, you know, and it doesn't have to be
Yes,
complicated.
right.
When you look at simple things that you're interested in, that you gravitate to, people you admire, to me, there's so many clues around us that are pointing us in our direction, to
Ashay.
giving us clues. And it's our job to simply pay attention to those clues. But I find that, a lot of people just overthink it or overanalyze it. I believe my opinion is that some of us have more than one purpose. And if
Ashay.
we just open ourselves up, we will find it. There's no way to miss it once we open
That's
ourselves.
right.
That's
That's
my
right.
opinion.
Absolutely. That's absolutely true.
So we go
I,
ahead.
I think that there's that in our lives, in our society, and I'm talking about worldwide society. I think that there are too many distractions from those forces that don't want us to find our purpose or our destiny. Because once we find our purpose and our destiny, that light bulb goes off and you become enlightened and you start to know rather than to believe. Okay, what's going on? Right now, you got a lot of people that believe. I can tell you for a fact, I know where I'm going. I know what my purpose is and I know what my destiny is. I don't have to believe in something that I know is not true. Ashe? Okay.
I,
I know
I,
you're laughing. Yeah.
well, no,
You're
I love
laughing.
that idea. Well, I think there's truth in it, that what you said, the light goes on. I feel that, and I've had this opinion for a long time, that the reason why there's so many distractions is to keep us away from our own power, what our own power and potential is. So if you could
Ashe.
keep someone busy 24/7 with Hulu and Netflix and 10 billion other things to think about, buy this, buy that, we would never get in touch with ourselves. But as
That's true.
as you say, I believe that the more in touch we become, the more powerful we become, and then the more powerful we become, the more of a threat some people might think, oh, this person is a threat, because they're more in tune. They're just able to influence others so well, so much. So
Ashe.
we have a question that came in from Rene Lasanta, and he's asking, what would you say to someone who's struggling with iwapele, iwapele, which in our tradition means good character, and how can they achieve good character on a daily basis?
Thank you for that question. And that happens to be my oldest son. my namesake. and and we look at Iwapele. So like you said, Iwapele, and I look at Iwapele and Iwarere, good character, good behavior. Okay, so you can have good character, but if your behavior is off, then everything's off. Okay, or you can have not so good character and a good behavior, and still everything is off. So there has to be equilibrium. Um, Iwa Pele is probably one of the most difficult concepts that the human being has uh, can achieve or is trying to struggle. Uh, we have so many um, personalities that we encounter on a daily basis. Um, it's like I had a Momo who had an encounter with an irate customer. Okay, and she says, "Baba, I just kind of just grit my teeth and try to maintain Iwapele as best as I can." Okay, you have those individuals that will push your buttons. Okay, Iwapele is not something that is dogmatic. Okay, I believe Iwapele is like blood pressure. It changes on a minute by minute basis depending on the environment and the situation that you're in. All right. So Iwapele is something that we have to strive for on a daily basis. If you see yourself getting angry or getting upset over something that you have no authority over, no decision making over, or anything like that, then move out the way. Get away from that environment. Get away from that person. Okay. If you have to, go to the restroom, get some cold water, put it on your Ori, and tell your Ori, hey, I need to stay cool and calm. Okay. And that's my way of keeping, say, trying to stay in Iwapele as much as you can. Avoid negative thoughts. That's hard to do. Avoid negative thoughts and negative actions. Before you act, Ifa says you should always think and look inside. And before you say anything, make sure that what you say is not going to offend that other person or hurt that other person. If that's going to happen, the best thing is to bite your tongue, turn around, and walk away. Save it until you are calm. I tell my parents, my Omo parents, when you discipline your children, make sure that you are calm and not angry. Because when you are in anger, you are more powerful than your children, both, strength wise, and you can hurt your child. And then you're the one that goes to jail. But try to maintain papele. If your child pushes your button, you need to walk away. Go to the bathroom, put some cold water on your head, and try to chill. Then approach your children and approach yourself. I think on a daily basis, it's a struggle, but with Ifa's help and with ancestors' help, because the ancestors are also part of the equation, and invoking RRE, I think that we can be successful.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I have, we're almost out of time, but I have two questions I want to pose to you before we. So
Okay.
one would be, what would be your advice to people who are struggling right now, people who find themselves in a dark place where they're asking themselves, is this life worth living? Maybe they're in a place of deep depression or hopelessness. What encouragement would you give them? That's one question. And then my second question,
Okay.
as you look at your life now as an elder now who has amassed, this wisdom, what would, as you look back on your life, what would you wish you would have known like 20 years ago? Or 20 years ago.
All right. Let me tackle the first question first. Um, in my opinion, as a medical professional, everybody in the world suffers from depression. There's just different levels of depression and stress. Okay, stress, overwhelming stress, can lead to depression. Um, Not minding your own business can lead to depression because you're getting into somebody else's business, which causing you stress, although that might not even be your business, but it causes you stress. Um, I think that when you get into deep depression, and I've known people who have gotten into deep depression, and you feel like there's no purpose for me to live, there's no purpose for me to be here. I think that they're out of tune with their Ori. Um, Sometimes, and when people are like that, they're not thinking, they're not thinking. Um, I don't want to use the word correctly, but they're not thinking effectively for themselves, and they're only thinking about the problem that they're encountering. Okay, that has caused this depression. My opinion, medical opinion, is that if you feel if you feel that way, if you feel that you're so depressed that you don't want to, you want to kind of check out, I think it's time for you to see a medical professional. Okay, where there's, we all have purposes, we all have functions, and conventional medicine, psychiatry, psychology, uh, chiropractic, whatever, we all have a purpose in life, a purpose in this society. And I think that we should reach out, and we should at least try to get some help with a medical professional that may be able to give you some things that you can use to better yourself. Um, you don't necessarily have to take medication, but uh, that has to be a decision, and I think that has to be an individual decision to seek help. You can talk to an individual who's depressed, and you can say, "Hey, man, you really need to get some help. You really need to go see whatever." But it's until they realize that, and until they accept that, is when they go and seek help. It's just like an addict. Until that addict can can actually say to himself, "I am an addict and I need help," then they're not going to get help. It's the same concept. The second question: as an elder, what would I what would I think? What would I have? What would I be glad to know 20 years ago? Well, I've been practicing Ifa for 18 years. So 20 years ago, I would have loved to have been an Ifa. But I think that 20 years ago, that would have made me 47. Um, 47. And um, the wisdom that I have been able to attain in those last 20 years um, surpasses any wisdom that I attained in my first 47. I think I didn't really, you say, okay, I'm an adult, but are you mature? You know, we allow in our society, especially in the United States, we allow 18-year-olds, teenagers, to call themselves adults. Okay, are they adults? Well, technically speaking, by the definition, yes. But are they mature? I don't think so. And I think being in the military and finding out, being in leadership, that one of the reasons why the law changed to 18 years old was to be able to allow those 18-year-olds to join the military. I was a recruiter for 4 years, so I mean I know some of these things. um, but I think that once you're in your 40s is when you're truly becoming mature, a mature adult, and you look back on your life. When I turned 40 in 1995, I wrote my brother, who was older than me, I wrote him a letter, and I asked him what was it like for him to turn 40, because when I turned 40, that is what I really felt, that I was an adult, not before. Okay, so that's what I wish. I wish I would have come to Ifa 30 years ago. Um, because Ifa has so has enriched my life so much. I have a beautiful wife, Yeye Bemisola, who's also a priest of Ifa and a priest of Oya, and we're getting ready to celebrate our 28th anniversary, wedding anniversary. And Ifa is has kept us together, and Ifa has blessed us. We have a beautiful home. We have beautiful children. We have 6 grandchildren. And so it's wonderful to be in Ifa for me. Okay, and I can sit here and talk about Ifa all day. You can ask my almost. I can talk for hours about Ifa, and I can talk for days about Ari, because I believe and I know that this was my destiny.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for educating us today about your path and purpose, and for sharing tips on wellness. We're so glad that we were able to have this, talk with you. And at some point in the future, I'd like to have you back on as a guest. But thank you so much
No
for
problem.
being.
I'd be willing to do that, and an honor. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you so much, and thank you
Okay.
everyone
All
for
right.
tuning in today. Thank you.
Okay. I